Morning, people of North Shore. We are going to do some training today, another CMA, which is Competitive Market Analysis. So this is a call I just got from a center of influence. I tried to list their house probably about a year ago. Never got to the CMA, the actual true listing appointment, but now we're there, and that came from staying in touch. And their situation's changed, and now they're ready to do something. So we're going to take that information and we're going to put it all together in a nice clean package so we know what we're talking about, and try to get ourselves a listing here. So the first thing we want to do is get a little information on the house itself. It might be a house you're very familiar with. It might be something that you were involved in buying. That happens a lot, or building. Or it might be something that you grew up in the house, or you're friends with them and you're always over at the house, so you might know quite a bit about the property. But what we want to do to start is we want to get in here and do a little research. So that's what we're going to start with. So the best place I think to initially start would be a little place called Realist. Realist you can pull off of your dashboard. And it would be this link here. It takes a minute to bring up, so I already queued it up. So this is what would open up once you click that button. What I found here is less is more when you're typing in the addresses. A lot of times if you put too much information down, you'll not be able to find it. So even though this place is called King's Mill, I'm just going to put in King and see if that shows up in the search. So once again, less is more. It'll give you a drop down, as you can see, where you can pick the one that it is, and we found it here, so we're going to pick that and search. So I'm familiar with this property, so that is the proper location. You can see it's kind of a strange lot, but it is large, I'll tell you that. And when we compare it to the average home size in the neighborhood, it's pretty good size. So let's see what we got here. First thing we want to do is we want to pull up some more details about the property itself. And how do we do that? Well, we come down here and we view reports. I typically at this point would just go ahead and print a copy of this, so I'm going to do that anyways and do a quick print. As you can see here, it pulls up a PDF that I can use, and you can see it has all this great information in it. We'll go over this in 1 second here, but this is a great piece to bring to a listing appointment as well. So I'm going to go ahead and print a copy of that right now. And what I typically do in Mac is I'll save a copy of it and print from the PDF, which you can't see because I'll bring it in. This is what you would have is a PDF, and that just saved to my desktop, and then now I print from here. I find that it's a cleaner printing from that, and I will come over here and print in color because it's more impressive. People like shiny color things at listing presentations. And I'm going to do this two-sided because I'm going to try to put this all in the binder. So when you're dealing with the binders, we have them so they're set up to accommodate a RPR report and the filler stuff, but it has to be two-sided because there's a lot of information. So I'm going to go ahead and do it two-sided so it looks more professional as well. I'm going to go to the printer and I'll go to two-sided color long edge binding. I think we're good here. That's the layout. Just make sure I have all these settings because I do a lot of other fancy stuff. I want to make sure I'm not printing on like super nice paper or something like that. Plain paper. Okay. This is the wrong printer. I'm sorry. My printer has left us. I'll use this guy. So do two-sided. I'll do it. Okay. 1 second, because I got to put the printer bar up. 1 second. Okay. I just didn't want all the paper to end up on the floor. Okay, so now we have this printing off. And the information we're looking at here is number one. You know, you can see there's a nice picture of the house already. So that will carry over all our other reports, which is very nice. It's a 3-bedroom house, but it's huge. It's a ranch. We're at 2740 square foot. And for those of you who have been in the business for a while, you realize it's a very, very large ranch to be on one floor and have a 3-car garage. The house has a tremendous footprint. And when we talk about footprints in the cost of building, when the size of the house coverage of one floor is extremely large, that means that also the foundation is that big, and that's one of the most, and also the roof line is also that big, and those are the two most expensive parts of building a home, is the foundation, building all those pieces, the concrete and all the lumber and everything that's involved in creating that, and carrying a floor system over that, and then also the roof system and all the creation of the roof. So when we put that into perspective, it's good to know that from a sense of when you have a buyer that's looking for a home and can't understand why a ranch costs considerably more to build per square foot than a 2-story would. And the reality is the smaller we can make the footprint. So in the case of a small box, for instance, if we stacked it 4 stories tall, we would only have a very, very small roof and a very, very small foundation if we were, say, building a 2,000 square foot 4-story versus building a 2,000 square foot 1-story. So you know, that's something that you need to understand when you're trying to compare square footages. And that's the reason you never want to take in, let's say you were selling one 2-story home in an area where it was prominently ranch style homes. That would skew the number and tell you that the 2-story was worth much more than it probably is. And you need to be able to understand that. Okay, so we know we have a 3-bedroom home. We know it's 2740 square foot. The lot square footage is 2,600. And does everybody understand that 43,000 and some change is the size of an acre? So this home site is going to be over half an acre, as you can see as well. And then we have the sale price of the home back in 6 of 12 was $373,000, and the MLS Baths is showing 2, and these are all MLS. It's pulling off MLS, and then which I don't think is true in this house. I think it's actually 2.5, just knowing the house, but we'll look into that in a minute. And then the year built was 2012. So it was a new build. These people are the only owners of the house. Jim or James Cousy and Jennifer Cousy are the owners, and we'll go from there. So the other great things we can pull off of this information is having this report is very nice for other steps in the process, but we want to look at assessments. You know, people typically are not going to pay a tremendous amount more for a house than the tax assessment. They start asking questions at that point. You know, well, why is the home assessed by the tax assessor for only, you know, 370 and you want 450? You know, so it doesn't make sense, and therefore people will tend to shy away from it unless they really love the house. But you know, even the bank appraiser is going to take a look at it. So if they're taking a mortgage, they're going to wonder why there's such a discrepancy in the two. And I apologize, I don't have enough coffee in me this morning, but we'll get to that point. I'll drink coffee as we move through this process. So that's a good indication of, a target, a loose target. So we start putting together the mystery here of, what is this home really marketable about? So we know, number one, that, and I'm writing stuff down as I'm talking here. So number one, we know that they paid $373 for the house. So I'm going to write that down on a piece of scrap paper. I'm going to write $373. So I know that that's what they got invested in the house. That's what they are thinking the home they bought it for. And that was in 6 of 12. And then we know that now when we're talking assessment, that's a tax assessor. It's a lot of people put the two together, bank appraisal or appraisal and assessment. They're two totally different things. The assessment is based on the tax assessor going out there and doing an assessment of what they value the home at. And the bank appraiser is it's going to be a different assessment altogether. So tax assessment is saying 370. So, if we were just to take this, we would say the home's probably worth somewhere in the, 365 to 375 range, assuming they haven't done any additional improvements. Maybe these people have finished the whole basement, or have put in a very nice patio in the back, or have a new kitchen beyond, added a kitchen, or added a lot of improvements on the inside since they bought it, like hardwood floors and those kind of things. So, those kind of things will affect the sellability of the house. But, this is a rough estimate of where we're starting. So as we said, it is over a half acre. As you can see, it's 0.61 acres. It also shows us some frontage of how wide the home is and how deep the lot is. I'm sorry. We continue down. As we know, it's got a 3-car garage. It gives us some sizes of the covered porches and such. It's giving us a real AVM, which, you can take these for what they're worth, but it's saying a real AVM with a confidence score of 79 is 333. I think that's going to be a little bit low, but let's write that down too, because, all the information we have, I think, is helpful. So, at the end, if we have a list of a bunch of different estimates, we kind of know where we're going. So that's 333. I'm sure the customer's not going to like to see that number, but it definitely gives us, some leverage to talk the full scenario. And then in range, which makes no sense, because obviously, I'm sorry, it does. Yeah. So 293 to 373. So it looks like they're at the high end of the range, and that's probably not surprising, because they built a ranch, as we talked about, in a typical 2-story neighborhood. So the averages are probably being skewed heavily because of the other homes in the neighborhood being 2-story homes. So, and that's where a professional needs to get them in, because this is like what Zillow's doing. They're pulling this type of information, and they're telling the person that their home's going to be worth 333. Now, this is the opposite of what happens in a lot of other cases, where it's telling them their house is worth way more. But in this case, that's a reason you need to get a trained professional in there to do a competitive market analysis and to actually sort through it and know the pros and cons. So as we can see, the house was actually listed, and that's the other reason it's nice to look at this. You can see that this house was listed at 379.5. Now that's a really nice thing to know, because we know that they have already bought into a number that would be in that kind of number there, or that range there. And I'm trying to digest this myself. So it was on for 93 days. I'm going to write that MLS number down, because we're going to pull that up over in the other one. It expired. It was DOM which is days on market for 93 days. So that's 3 months. And that was back in 2014. And just in case anybody's wondering, it was not me that listed this home. So it's saying that when they bought it at about $136. So I'm going to write that down too, just to have the information once again. And it was bought in both of their names, as you can see here, because we have owner name number 2, Jennifer Kusi, and James Kusi here. So we know that they listed at $379. And when we go to that appointment, we're going to ask questions like, how did the listing go? How much traffic did you get? Those kind of things. It's nice going into a listing that has been on the market and hasn't sold, because you have at least a starting point to kind of leverage off of. And I think this is a really cool number. I could see that they wanted a little bit more than they bought it for, and that's probably to cover, in their minds they're probably looking at, hey, if we can sell it for a little bit more than we bought it for to cover our cost of closing and everything, that's good for us. And so they're at least semi-reasonable about what's going on. And then this map's nice to bring to the thing, because it just shows them that you got all this cool information that you're going to be able to provide them. Okay, and then now we do also can see that they do have a mortgage on the property, and that's the other thing I think is really important to do, is to come in here and to see what they mortgaged on the property. So in 2012, they mortgaged $354,000. So we got to assume that that is what they have. So 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, well, 15 we'll call it. So they have about 4 years. Most of that's going right towards the interest. So they paid, this is probably still a 347, 350 loan that they owe. So I'm going to write that down too. I mean, I would take a couple thousand off if it's been a few years. Beyond that, if you do need help with that, we can call our mortgage company, or I do have some tools that you can use. I think you'd spend more time trying to figure it out than taking advantage of the opportunity to call your mortgage person and build a better relationship with them. Let them help you out with that. Okay, so that's all we're going to have on this Realist. As I said, I'm printing this off and I'm bringing it with me to the presentation. I'm going to close that out. All this information is the same. And there's other great tools in here as well, and I'm not trying to undersell it by any means. I'm going to close this off too. But you can do, you can look at comparables on the Realist as well. Each of these platforms, no comparables. Each of these platforms has its own strengths and weaknesses, and depending on your comfort level and what you're trying to achieve, they're great tools to have in here. So, there's many ways to slice this bread, and I'm just showing you the way I've had the best success with it. You could print off some of this stuff if you really, if you have an engineer type of client and you really want to knock their socks off. There's more reports here. But once again, RPR Reports going to do that all for you. You don't have to do this unless you really feel like you enjoy it. Here's some other stuff that's sold in the neighborhood and their values and what's going on there. Neighborhood profiles going to give you a bunch of more of these pretty graphs that you can print off in color and really show them. Well, I know the type of people that are buying in here, their age profile, all that other stuff, and what we should be targeting. What type of people, married people, it looks like are going to be the big buyers in that area. Surprisingly, more male than female. It's usually the opposite way around in most of our suburbs. 28% are single, 7% are divorced. And you'll find there's big swings per neighborhood on what's going on here. And how does that help you? I don't know that it does, other than if you really want to target some type of marketing. If you know the majority, like let's say it was like a 75% um, female, let's say 75% female uh, buyer in that area, you might do heavier marketing on Facebook, targeting more women for that area than men. That's certainly your choice, but I don't think you're going to do a lot of information or a lot of stuff with that. Rental can play into that some. I'm surprised to see this as high as it is, to be quite honest with you, in this area. That 20% of the homes in this area are rented homes. You'll see a lot more of that in the city, where you'll see bigger portions of that. But here in the suburbs, in Penfield, that's a pretty high number. And that can affect saleability as well. So definitely something to know. And then we have white collar and blue collar. I don't think anybody's surprised here that 65% of Penfield is white collar workers. I think Rochester as a whole is more white collar than blue collar at this point. So, some just great tools here to look through. Go ahead and digest at your own leisure. And then last is the assessor's map. This will be the actual maps. I'm not going to pull it up because it'll lock my computer up, or it'll take a few minutes. I don't think it's worth any of that. So we can go back to this, and then I'm going to basically just go ahead and get out of Realist and go into my next portion. So from Realist, we're just going to go back to the Fusion dashboard. And certainly this can change as Matrix comes out. We'll do training on that as well, but it will be the same scenario. It's just you'll apply it to the Matrix platform. So here we go. So the next thing I want to do is, we did see that there was other MLS that was pulled up, but before I do that, let me see if there was any that might not have shown up on that list. So how do we do that? Well, we're going to search by address. And the same applies here as the other scenario. Less is more if you're looking for homes. Don't put in court, drive, street, and if it's a two-word, I usually just put the first word, because you can see it didn't even find it when I did it that way. So that's crazy. So let's see if oops. So that house is not showing up, which is surprising. And that's the reason I wrote that MLS number down. So we know that the MLS number was R252537. So you saw me type that in. And that has a lot to do with how the agent types it into the system. That's how it will be saved. So if they did something funky when they did, which I typed it in just like that, as you guys saw, but sometimes the system likes to fight us. So you can see, and it might not have shown up because, no, it should have shown up. So this is an expired listing. Maybe because it doesn't show expired. Maybe it only shows solds and withdrawns, or I don't know. So, but regardless, here is the listing, and this is obviously the only one that's going to come up this way, because we search by MLS number. But I'm going to go ahead and print this report off too. I think it's a very good report to print off. We can go ahead and take a look at the photography, because we might be able to use that to help our cause when we go to sell it. And I'm already seeing, like, you look at this, and I mean, to me, this is not luring me in at all. I mean, I'm looking at a very dark, dungeness. I'm not excited at all to go to look at this. So I got this overexposed picture next to these definitely underexposed picture. This beautiful entrance to the home is just bad angles. So it's just, to me, this is not feeling like a place I would want to purchase or even go waste my time in looking at. Even under the porch here, you can see it's kind of, not very nice. And this house is beautiful. I will say that. And I think you'll get a feel for that in some of the pictures, but let me say this, it's not really doing it justice. So once again, we never take a picture of a house unless we have no other option. We never take a picture from the house from the garage side. We want to take it from the house side. And the reason is because you have this huge pond of driveway here, which is not attractive. No one wants to see that. So house is always going to look better from this side. There's certain times where there's a tree or there's a, maybe there's something we don't want to see on this side of the house that we are forced to take a picture like this. But even in that case, we're going to try to reduce the amount of driveway that's shown in the picture. So it's not just a huge amount of driveway here. And that goes for any type of picture. It doesn't have to be just our professional pictures. And you can see the difference like what I'm talking about. Doesn't this feel nicer? It feels like it's a lot of grass and it just feels better than a photo like this one's going to feel. And once again, that doesn't just apply to our professional photography. It also applies to when you're doing a click from out at the site when you're doing an open house or whatnot, trying to drive traffic over there. Just try to reduce the amount of times you take this picture. As you can see, the backyard, really nice backyard in this house. They do have 2 large German Shepherds, which is probably one of my largest concerns. But the house looks to be in very good shape when we're talking about having big dogs like that. So these pictures are pretty nice. This one's terrible because they didn't have the proper equipment, and that's the thing. When you get into these big, wide open houses, that's where having somebody that has the right camera equipment and has the know-how and the ability to get these pictures to look good. It's easy to shoot some houses. This type of house would be almost impossible to shoot with just regular camera gear. You need to have some additional know-how and equipment, mainly because these heavy dark couches as well. They're going to absorb a lot of light, and as you can see, it really brought the tone of this picture down. So we will when we come and take the pictures of this house, we'll bring in additional lighting and put additional lighting hidden out of view, but to brighten this room up so it equalizes what you're seeing in this room. Let's continue down through these. This is a terrible photo. And the reason is because when they took the picture, the camera was exposing for the outside, which we love to do, and we do every time on our photos. But what we will do is we will add additional artificial lighting in here so we can balance the amount of light that's outside. And, we believe that bringing in that green from the outside and the color from the outside really helps in making the house feel better. But we also had to compensate for that and get the inside to expose properly as well. And then here, a beautiful wide open space. Why didn't they take these gates down is a good question I have. I don't think that's helping the picture at all. And why are these stools kind of just here? You don't really know what they're for. I'm assuming that there's a table here, but I think those could have been moved better as well. And it's all about those things. So here's that same picture, but once again, it still looks overexposed. This railing it's not a good angle because you don't know what's going on here with this railing. I think just coming over a couple feet would have made a big difference in that shot as well. Nice crooked fireplace with blown out windows light over here. So what they did was, it was probably compensated once again for the back. They overexposed the after and post process the photo, and the photo's angled weird. It's just a bad photo all around. Do we need giraffes on both sides? Probably not. We probably bring one in or a couple. We're probably going to, for more visual impact, we're probably going to bring some higher stuff in here and make this just look better. Speakers really just never help. If we can hide those or get those out of the photos, that's going to be great as well. So, the kitchen is unbelievably gorgeous in this house, and this photo is not showing that in any ways. I mean, this person doesn't have the proper camera equipment, so they're shooting over couches. I mean, we would be standing very close to this, getting a gorgeous shot of this, whereas they're shooting the backside of the couch, and it just, to me, feels very amateur, and it doesn't really make this house feel as awesome as it is. Same thing over here. I mean, you can see they have all the fixings: cherry cabinets, granite countertops, undermount sinks, pull-out gooseneck faucets. You know, it's all stainless steel appliances, ceramic backsplash. I mean, this is a dream kitchen to shoot, and they've taken a photo that's just kind of like wah wah. I mean, to me, we took better photos of a house yesterday that was, you know, basically the size of this whole thing. And to me, it just makes you want to look at that kitchen more than you want to look at this, you know, $100,000 kitchen that's in this house. Once again, a dark, terrible room. You know, getting this gate. You know, people are wondering what's this gate all about. What's going on here? And I think getting that out of the picture is going to help. Everything's dark because of, once again, the photography was exposed for the outside. We keep on moving through here. You know, I wonder what this is. If it's something that's needed, it's kind of distracting. They left the ceiling fans on. You always want ceiling fans off because if not, guess what? You're going to get that. And that looks like a blurry mess up there. Um, you know, is this furniture laid out ideal for this room? I don't know. A stager would definitely be able to tell us if that's the case. Um, to me, it feels like at this angle, we're shooting like a kind of like a curve of furniture. That looks great to me. Not really being sarcastic. Once again, a dark view out the kitchen. I love living in this cave. When the real truth of this home is there's tons of natural light, and it would have to be. Look at the size of these windows. We have floor to ceiling windows all the way around the side of the house, and it feels like I'm in a dungeon here. So, not doing this house any justice. Once again, none of these bedrooms, you know, like a bedroom like this where they got stuff. I mean, how long would it have taken them to pick that up and pull it out of the photo? Not more than a second. I'd probably also get rid of this. You know, the blinds should always be pulled all the way up. We don't want these lines to feel like you're in prison bars. Um, you know, so this is a nice picture. You know, this angle is always a little wonky as well. I mean, you typically don't want to be shooting with the bed. You want to shoot against the bed. This bedroom is gorgeous. Once again, not really seeing that because it feels dark because they exposed for the lights outside. Um, feels like we have a real jungle theme in this house. We're going to try to reduce that a little bit. You know, they should have pulled the drapes all the way up once again, especially if they're going to do them halfway, then do them all halfway. Um, but I would encourage you to get them all the way up, get the ropes out of the pictures. Um, and once again, we'll try to reduce that when we take the photos of the amount of jungle theme in the house. Once again, beautiful niches. I don't know if a unicorn in the niche is really where I would go with that. I'd try to find something more, I guess, not unicorn, but you know, maybe somebody likes that. And then over here, the beautiful bath. Let's see how what if they've done any justice with that. Probably one of the strongest pictures of the house. I mean, I'm trying to say that in the nicest way I can. Other than you know the actual agent being in the photo over here, you know, not a bad photo. This mirror I don't think is doing any other than looking like, hey, you know, I bought a mirror and hung it over my door. I would definitely get rid of that regardless. Um, Also, there's another closet on the other side of this, and I think that would be pretty important to let people know. So you might leave just a teaser. We've also found having these rugs really do not help any photo. Having soap and shampoo and all that stuff in the photos don't help photos at all. Once again, having these blinds, people put windows in their house because they feel like they're going to be looking out them. You know, and we know as from a privacy factor, everybody puts these blinds on and will keep them shut all year round. But the reality is we want people to visualize like, oh, how beautiful the view is out here. The reality is you're probably not going to ever see that view because you're going to put the blinds on it. But we don't want people to know that. We're gonna open them up and bring in all that natural light. What this is, I have no idea. Maybe a dirty washcloth, who knows? So let's get rid of all the visual clutter. Let's get rid of this hooks on the door if there's those hangovers. I mean, literally, we take this mirror off, put it in the closet, take the picture, and then put it back on. It's that easy. These rugs would just come thrown behind me, and we take the photo. So once again, she doesn't have the proper equipment. I mean, this bathroom is mammoth. It's gigantic. There's two vanities over here. You're only seeing one. Well, you can see it in this picture. So you can see there's two vanities here. But once again, she doesn't have the proper camera equipment. Why? How is this tissue box helping the photo, or this ugly orange thing when you got all these beautiful things? I mean, why? My eye is drawn directly to that. And if that wasn't there, it would be drawn to just the overall feel of, I feel like I'm in a spa. And you don't go to a nice hotel or anything like that and see just random tissue boxes and stuff like that thrown in the room. So we want to make sure we're presenting the house in the best way we can. And once again, these hooks on the door, I would take those off and throw them in that linen closet, and then take them back out after. Um, get rid of the visual clutter. And this one is not that bad. I mean, these people are fairly neat and they did a great job of staging their home. But the reality is we want to definitely keep that to a minimum. And then this, does this picture help at all? In my opinion, no. If you feel like you had to take this shot, I would definitely pull the hamper out of there. It's on wheels. That would be awesome. Just roll it behind you. All these just loose hangers, just slide those over here, or get them and throw them in the hamper and pull it out. And all the laundry that's on top of the washers, I don't think that's helping people visualize their own selves living there. And then obviously all of this stuff has to go, or be organized. So maybe just get rid of the clothes, throw those in the laundry basket, and organize the detergents or something up there. The Swiffer, fantastic. It's nice to know that you Swiffer, but I don't need to know that when I'm visualizing how I'm going to be living in the house. So once again, I don't know that this photo is even needed, but if it is, not like it is, not like it is. And then the basement, once again, this basement feels okay in size. I will tell you that this basement is probably one of the biggest basements. I mean, it's a 3,000 square foot basement. So imagine how big that feels. And this feels like a 1,500 square foot basement to me right here. So if you're going to take a picture of a basement like this, number one, we need to get the light proper. I mean, you can see that she's using on flash camera. It's hot. There's a hot spot here, and the rest of it's totally underexposed. And to me, that's not doing any justice to this picture. So that was my quick take on how terrible the photography is. I love to see this because that's one of the reasons the house probably didn't sell. I mean, there was no excitement, nothing driving the person or a buyer to come and look at it. So we're going to make that better. We're going to reduce that for them. So this is the MLS. I'm going to go ahead and print one of these off all the time as well. So once again, I hit the print button. That will automatically save a copy to my desktop. As you can see here, it did bring it up as a PDF. And I'm going to go ahead and hit print on that. That is set. There we go. So Jean Thomas had it listed. And I'm familiar with Jean, and she's a good realtor, but I mean, I'm a little disappointed in her competition sub agent. Okay. I'm just looking if there's anything else weird here. There might be. It's good to read through because those same things will probably apply the next time. So you can see here, service agreement, pirate agent, please. Okay, so she did put it down as a, this wasn't listed by Jean, it was just a, she just put it on the MLS form. So these photos were probably taken by the owner of the house and not by Jean. And that's, as I said, Jean's a good real estate agent, so that's probably the reason. It's probably the reason the photography is not as good, is because she's actually not listing the house. And they probably wrote this up to, I'd like to, in a house like this that's just jam-packed with great stuff, I think that you could have really wrote up a nicer thing about the property. So, two things we just learned. Number one, we want to be soft when we're talking about the photography. We want to make sure we get our point across that the photography was weak and it needed some love. But on the same note, we also want to know that the owner probably took the pictures. So we can't bash the photography as much because we don't want to hurt their feelings. We still want to get the listing. Also, this is a good point of why you may not want to do limited service agreements. And the big reason for that is I'm associating the photography and the listing and the non-sale of this property with Gene, and Gene probably didn't have anything to do with any of that. In this case, Gene actually was just allowing the customer to use her MLS number to put it on the market. So your choice, but to me, I don't believe it's worth ruining your reputation. You know, when people see terrible photos of the house and they see your name next to it, they assume that that's what you've done. And so if you're doing limited service, you might want to get involved and take better photos for them. Okay, so now we have that taken care of. So now let's find out what we think the house is worth based on additional information through other channels. So I'm going to close this out as well. And I'm going to close this one out as well. So now we're going to go ahead and do a search for single family residence. Oops. And all I really care about is solds in this particular report that I'm going to do. So I don't care about A's and C's, which are active and continuous shows. All I care about is actual solds, because that's what we care about. And pendings don't really matter because we don't know what they actually sold for. We just know what the list price was. So I want to know what these houses actually sold for. So let's start with the county. We know that's Monroe. Now this house is on the border. I mean, within like, I could throw a stone across the border of Penfield and Webster. So I don't know that I want to limit it just to Penfield or just Webster. So I think what we'll do is we'll put both. Let's get Webster in there as well. Oops, I'll probably put Penfield too. Uh-oh. Okay, sometimes I do this to myself. Let's just hit the right button this time. Webster and Penfield. Okay, so school district, I'm not too concerned with that. You know, we could do school district. This is in Webster schools. Ooh, what's going on here? Never seen. You learn new things when you're. Okay, so Webster schools. Let it go on. There we go. Okay, so I only want to look at, I want to look at houses that are larger in this thing. I don't want to pull 1,400 square foot ranches because once again, that will skew your numbers. You want to make sure you're in the game. So with this house being the size it is, and let me grab off the printer all the information I needed. Okay. So this house is 2,740 square foot. So I'm going to go down to ranches. We'll start the search with ranches that are over 2,500 square foot. And I'm not going to be too concerned with the bedrooms and such because we're only going to look for ranch-style homes to start. So we'll go to style of residence, and we will look for ranch. And we'll also see if there's the term patio in here. I don't believe it is, but just to make sure, some people call ranches patio. There it is. So we'll also do patio as well. So we're pulling what we need. And we know that this is on a pretty large home site. So we are going to go ahead and put it only on houses that are 0.5 acres and larger. Okay. So we have actually quite a few homes that fall into that, more than I would have thought. Now, this goes back in history over a long time, over probably 13 to 15 years. So your build, I think, should also affect this a little bit. And considering this was a 2012 build, I think I would like to see things that are at least built in the probably late 90s and on. So let's go from 1997 on. Okay, so that reduces this down. And as you can see, you can start seeing how much you're reducing by. This is now down to 37 matches. And I don't know if this is a good comparison, being so close and so far away to our house, which is way over here, in this case, in this area. But I'm surprised that house is selling for so much. So I think we would want houses that are actually going to be more in this area here. And I don't know if these are, can't really see what those look like, but oh. Sometimes I do things that I normally wouldn't do when I'm not doing a training video, but so sorry about that. Okay. So I think the homes that we probably really should keep in the mix is, I'm going to keep the stuff over here kind of out of the mix. I think I'm going to just go with this stuff here, and we can do that by going to the radius tool here, and kind of, this is where our property is located right here. And let's just, there we go. Let's just pick stuff that's kind of there. Okay. So now we're down to 17 homes. So now what I want to do is I want to take a look at what we got here. And this house is insanely expensive. It's $624 on Stablegate. So I don't know if that's a great comp. It actually sold for $570. As you can see, the list price, sale price were much different. $530 on Stablegate. I think we're going to take those Stablegate houses out of there. I think they're going to skew our numbers. So I'm going to go ahead and take those out. I'm going to check all these. And we're going to go ahead and click this here. So see, that says statistics. That's going to be something I care about. So we know we had, I think, 15 homes in that mixture. Usually look before I click that button, but we'll figure it out. Now, if your statistics doesn't open up when you click it, you can see it does something, but it just won't move forward. That means you have your sensitivity set too strong on your browser, and you need to allow pop-ups, and then that will fix it. So, or at least let pop-ups for that program. So if it's not working, it's because your computer's set up wrong. So this shows us the averages, and this is averages based on the information we told it to look for. So these are based on the houses that I just selected in that mixture. And we can see the average list price. The highest one is 434, and that house that was listed for that, or the highest sale price, it might not be the same house. It might be a house that was listed for 425. That's the highest sale price is 420 in that mix. Also, we can see right through here, and that's a high, I'm sorry. But as we look, we can see the averages. And we want our averages to be fairly close to our target property so that, it makes sense. So in this case, our property is a 3-bedroom. So that's perfect. And our property is 2,700 square foot. This is 2,900 square foot. So not terribly off. And I think that works. The average list price was $356, and the average list price per square foot was $122. Average sale price of $338, and the average sale price dollar per square foot was $116. So we know that ranches in this area are kind of in a ballpark of of $116,000 to $120,000 a square foot is what their sale prices are. And so I would say list price, we probably go in somewhere around 125-ish maybe on a best case scenario. And I'm going to show you this because this might be skewed. So we're gonna look at this now, and we're gonna look at another chart. But if I take this one, this is based on 15 properties. I'm going to go ahead and print this and keep this and also bring this with me. So we're going to go ahead and print. As you guys see, I just click this little button up here, just in case you didn't see me do that. And then OK. And once again, it's going to give me an option to download it as a PDF once it comes up. And that just saved it to my desktop. And then now I open it up over here. And as you can see, I'm going to go ahead and print this page. Okay, so go ahead and close that. So you can see there's other things here, like it'll tell you, agent ranking, who sold the most and all that stuff. This is a great thing to get into on your own. Or if you're trying to own a neighborhood, you can go in there and do some research on who's dominating that market right now, so you can see how they market, so you can market against them. So I'm going to close this out, and I'm going to come back in here, and I'm going to adjust the criteria a little bit on this search. So I leave all that stuff still in place. And I'm not going to change any of this, but what I am going to change is the closed or lease date. So I want to see houses that closed, let's go 01/01/ let's go 5 years back. So let's go from 2000. Yeah, 2000. Not 2000. Yeah, we'll just go 2000. Or let's go 3 years back. So that would be 2012. Okay, so now you can see we have 5 matches. So this is giving us a a more accurate picture of what's happened since 2012 to today. And the houses that have sold, this was on the market forever. I remember it, and that's not a great. It's not a great location. Answer 405. So that's a nice mix. And then Brentwood. So it looks like higher price now. This one's not helping us at all, but and it's Stablegate. So, and that once again, I don't think that really should be in the mix. So we'll go ahead and take that out. So we're going to go to results again, and we're going to select them all except for the Stablegate one again. So if I click this one and then hold the shift key down and click the bottom one, it'll pick those. So now we're down to 4 houses that have sold. And we're going to once again click the statistics button here. And we're going to see if this changes our numbers. Okay. So now we look at this. Our averages are a little closer to what, actually really close to what we have. List price of $374, so $139, and a sale price of $128. So, I think this is kind of where we're probably going to be living a little bit more. So we're going to go ahead and print this off as well. So again, I'm going to click this little button here. I'll save it to my desktop. I'll open it in my desktop, and then I'll go ahead and print off of my desktop, which opens in another screen, but I'll slide it here so you can see it, and I hit print. Okay, so that's done. So are you guys starting to get a picture of where we are? Sorry, I just don't want to delete the run thing here. 1 second. I'm trying to do too many things at the same time. Okay. So we're starting to get a picture of what the true value of this home might be now. So I'm done with this scenario here now as well. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to go and click on this button here from your dashboard, which is RPR. That's going to open this guy. It's going to look just like this. As you can see, we have branded up real nice for Nordshar. And what we're going to do is we're going to put the address in here first. So 55 Kings Mill, and then I'm going to do 14526, which is Penfield Mailing. This house falls under Penfield Mailing, Webster Schools. Okay, so now we have another number that we're going to work with here, and we'll get those other numbers that we just did off of the Fusion reports that we were running. But so now I'm going to write this number down. This is current RVM. So the other one was called an AVM. I don't remember if you remembered that from when we did the Realist report. It was called an AVM. AVMs are much less accurate than an RVM. RVMs are more accurate, and RVMs are also accurate per what the confidence score is here. Okay, so this is giving it 4 stars. If it was a 5-star, I would feel really super confident that that number was pretty strong. But in this case, it's saying, hey, this guy is probably worth somewhere around in the 378 range. And it's, there's a pretty big spread here. And once again, because of the 2 stories are really skewing that number, I think that's affecting it a little bit. So, but RVM of 378, 430. And a RVM range of 329 to 427. And the number that your clients are going to be looking at out of all the numbers you show them today, it will be, oh, there's that picture again. Great. Is that great? 427. My house is potentially worth 427. Well, yes, if all the stars align, your house is potentially worth that, but more than likely not. Okay, so now we have this report up. Now, if you were on the run and you had 2 minutes to do a report for somebody and give them an idea of what their home was worth and didn't have the time to do all the stuff that I've already done. And once again, you have to remember the stuff that I've already done does not take nearly as long as it's taken us. And the reason for that is because there's nobody explaining it to you. You're just doing it. You can get in and out and make it happen. I can do a whole full assessment report in probably less than a half an hour if I'm not explaining it to somebody. And a very, very, very good one, printed out and everything. But in this case, it's going to take quite a bit longer because of the fact that I'm explaining everything and we're going through each step and I'm explaining what each thing is. But if you have 2 minutes to do a report and you want to have an idea of what a house is worth, this is the best place to go. You go to RPR, you type in the address just as we did. So this would have just came up just like this. You get a quick look, a sneak peek of 378. Okay, 378. We know they had it listed before at 379. I don't think they're completely insane for doing that. And then we continue moving through the steps. So our next step would be, to actually create a report. So basically, it's taken us 2 seconds to get to here. I'm sorry. We're going to go. Oh, I think because I've done this before. Let me go back. I've already done a report, but you would do create build comp report here. So that would be the next step. I apologize. So basically, type in the address from that main screen. It comes to the last screen right here. So basically, we've typed in the address. That takes 2 seconds. We've looked here. We said that's 378. Okay, that takes a second. And then now we go to create, which it takes 1 second, as you can see. We're going to confirm the facts. That's the next thing we're going to do. We're going to make sure that none of these are skewed. If you find one of these are skewed, I would encourage you not to make the changes here. We will make it in another area. And the reason is because for some reason, when you make the changes here, there's something goofy with this report that it doesn't do it properly, and it skews your numbers in one area where it will confuse the customer. So you're better off not making any changes here, just understanding that this is what the information it's using it for, and you'll have to make adjustments if this is not accurate. So let me look through this real quick. It is a single family residence. It is a 3-bedroom. It is 3 baths. It is a full, 2 full and 1 half. It is living area 2740. It is on a 0.61 acre, and lot dimensions are accurate. Yes, it does have a garage. Garage space is 2. That is incorrect. It's supposed to have 3. We'll have to make an adjustment for that, and no pool. Okay, so we know those are good. I'm going to confirm the facts. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come down and I'm going to find comps. And finding comps is very similar to using your other tools. I think in this case, we're going to want to find comps that are not sold in the last 6 months. We want to go back further in time, 18 months. And we want single family residents active and for sale, pendings and solds. We might have to back up a little bit. Now it's going to pull anything that's in your little map here. So if you back up a couple, you'll get more options to view. So I'm going to search in this area here. I think it's going to give us a better, oops. This will be probably a better mixture of what we're looking for. And we want at least 3-bedroom, 2 baths. We want them at least up 2,400, we'll say, to 35. Lot size we do care about in this case. So we're going to go 0.5 and up. And year built, yeah, sure. Let's go 2012. Let's go 1980 or 797. Okay, now we hit the search. . . Okay, so we got a decent mixture of stuff going on here, as you see. So unfortunately, the RPR will not allow you to do the ranch situation. So you'll have to look through the pictures and kind of find houses that are similar to the property you're looking at. And you'll see that in this case, there's probably not going to be a lot of ranches. We know of this one, which definitely should be in there. So we're going to add that to the comps list. And I'll start at the bottom and kind of work my way up. So these are for sale currently. There's no ranches. This builder does a lot of ranches, but I don't think that's a ranch. It's a big ranch if it is. Here's a ranch. We're going to add that to the comps. Add that one. So that's it. I mean, that's all we got for ranches. So we're going to just use those two. We're going to update the valuation. It's going to tell us the house is worth about $350, which is, not what the customer is going to want to see. We could go in and make adjustments. So we can go in if we wanted to and make an adjustment for that garage if we wanted. Oh, sorry, you don't add it here though. Where do I do that again? Refine value. So you go to refine value. This is where you can add for the garages. If you're doing home improvements, those kind of things can also be played in here. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and add a garage. So that was done when the house was built, so just say February 2012. And a typical garage is going to add about 15 to 20,000. So we'll just call it $20,000. I want this. Let me leave this. There we go. It's only giving us 6,000 in value for that, but we'll leave that in. And then we'll go back to comp analysis. For some reason that didn't change the report here. Oh, and because it wouldn't, because these comps are based on the houses that we selected. So we would have to go in there ourselves and make adjustments into that. So knowing that, we now have these two houses which could be considered worse. This is definitely a worse house, and I'll say that. So this, I'm going to say that it's probably $20,000 worse than I would pay less for that house than this. And the reason is this house is on a main street with not a very good yard. It's not even the same style house. Okay. So now that's pushing us into the 370, which we keep on coming back to that same number, which to me that's a pretty strong indication that you're doing the right stuff. You don't want to use it to skew you though and make you make bad decisions. So now we're going to get print report, and this is where we're going to come in and we're going to get into the seller's report, and we're going to get the full detail report. This report is typically 70, 80 pages long. and it's fairly impressive to get a large report. You can see here if we show sample report, you're going to get all kinds of great information to share with your client. About 75 pages, as you see. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and personalize reports. Sure, why not? Let's do that. So Jim and okay, and I'm not going to write anything there. There's nothing needed. Delivery method, I'm going to go as a PDF. If you want, you can email it to your friends, family, all kinds of stuff if you like to do that. I'm just going to do that. We're going to hit run report. And in this case, it takes a while because there's so much information being collected and put together that it's going to take a few minutes for that thing to come up and be completely finished. So you can see that this report is being generated over here. And once it's generated, it'll send you a little bing, and then you'll know that it has been done. So I'm going to go back here again, and I'm going to look that and you can edit this as well, just so you know. I know I didn't tell you that, but you can edit the range so that if it's way like a huge, I kind of like this range. So I didn't do anything with it, but if it was a huge difference between what you're trying to sell at, then you would want to make an adjustment there. Okay, so this report is going to tell our clients, RPR, that we should be listing at 372,990. So, if your customer was very stubborn and wanted to list for a little bit more than that, we would definitely be okay with that. But, if they want to do way less than, if they want to do way more, like let's say they wanted to be at 425, I would say, hey, I just, from a professional perspective, can't list your home at that because it's not going to sell and you're going to do yourself a disjustice. 1 second, I'm going to grab a couple things off the printer. So we said RPR is telling us that this home is worth 372, which is the fancy report we're going to put in front of our customers. So we're saying 372 there. And then if I look at my statistics and I say the average on those 4 properties that we pulled up, we were looking at an average list price of 139.3. So I'm going to grab a calculator here real quick, if I can find it in my piles. There it is. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this number, and we know the square footage of this home was 2740 square foot. So that's the first thing I'm going to write down. So the average list price, once again, was 139.3. So I'm going to take 2740 square foot, and I'm writing this on that summary statistics report, the one that we printed off earlier. And then I'm going to times that by 139.3, and that equals, and we hope that this comes very close to our other number, equals 381,682. So with that information, I'm going to tell my clients that you can list anywhere up to that number. Anything beyond that, I think, is you better have a reason for it. You better have a compensating factor that makes that work. So now we know that we are definitely in the right range. Everything's telling us this home should be listed on the market for 379,500. That's the number we should be shooting to, and that's the number that I think the customer would agree to. So we'll do some great photography. We'll get the house listed. We'll bring our listing presentation packet, which is made up of all kinds of great stuff to sell yourself, so you stay on topic and you make sure you explain all the great things you do that are better than everybody else. And then from there, you basically get the listing, put it on the market, sell it in a couple days, and make some money. That's all I have for today. We will do additional training on what the next steps are after you get this report done and how to get it put out. But I think that's more of a video kind of thing, not a screencast kind of thing. But hopefully you found this training helpful, and hopefully this will make you feel more confident in taking the next steps. Until next time, have a great day. I'll talk to you soon.